gave a knowing smile, then continued on. "The chief himself," Pendergast said, tossing his uneaten lobster roll into a trash can. Something seemed to have amused him. "Yes, and I believe we shall soon discover why." As they strolled back up the main street, Constance saw a ticket fluttering on the Porsche's windscreen. Pendergast pulled it out and examined it. "It seems I parked straddling 2 spaces. How remiss of me." Constance saw that Pendergast had indeed parked the car squarely across 2 painted parking space lines. But the entire street is practically free of parked cars. One must obey the law. Pendergast tucked the ticket into his suit pocket, and they got into the car. He started it up and eased back out into the main street. In a moment they had passed through town and were out the other side, the shop buildings already giving way to modest shingled houses. The road rose up through grassy meadows bordered by massive oaks before coming out on higher land overlooking the Atlantic. Ahead, toward the bluffs, Constance could see the Exmouth lighthouse, their destination. It was painted bone white with a black top and stood out against the blue sky. Next to it rose the keeper's residence, austere as an Andrew Wyeth painting. As they approached, Constance also made out a scattering of sculptures in a meadow along the edges of the bluff, rough-cut granite forms with polished and somewhat sinister shapes emerging from the stone, faces, body forms, mythical sea creatures. It was a striking location for a sculpture garden. Pendergast brought the roadster to a halt in the graveled drive alongside the house. As they got out, Percival Lake appeared in the door, then strode onto the porch. "Welcome. Good Lord, you certainly travel in style. That's a 55 Spider 550, if I'm not mistaken," he said as he came down the steps. "A 54, actually," Pendergast replied. "It's my late wife's car. I prefer something more comfortable, but my associate, Miss Greene, insisted on it." "I did not," she interjected. "Your associate?" Constance did not like the way the man's eyebrows rose in ironical amusement as he looked at her. "Pleased to see you again." She shook his hand rather coldly. "Let us visit the scene of the crime," said Pendergast. "You don't waste any time." In a criminal investigation, there is an inverse relationship between the quality of evidence and the length of time it has been awaiting examination. "Right." Lake led them into the house. They passed through a front hall and parlor with sweeping views of the ocean. The old house had been immaculately kept up, airy and fresh, with the sea breeze swelling the lace curtains. In the kitchen, an attractive bleached blonde in her 30s, slender and fit, was dicing carrots. "This is my associate, Carol Hinterwasser," Lake told them. "Please meet Agent Pendergast and Constance Greene. They are here to find my wine collection." The woman turned with a smile, displaying white teeth, dried her hands on a cloth, and shook their hands in turn. "Excuse me, I'm just making a mirepoix. I'm so glad you could come. Perce is really devastated. Those wines meant a lot to him, way more than the value." "Indeed," said Pendergast. Constance could see his silvery eyes darting about. "This way," said Lake. At the back of the kitchen stood a narrow door. Lake opened it, flicked on a light switch. It illuminated a set of steep, rickety stairs going down into darkness. A rich, cool smell of damp earth and stone rose up. "Take care," he cautioned. "These steps are steep." They descended into a maze-like space, with stone walls covered in niter, and a stone floor. In one alcove was a furnace and water heater. In another, a finished room with a collection of air tools, sandbags, protection suits, and equipment for polishing stone. They turned a corner and came into the largest room in the basement. One wall was